What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I actually intended to do a comparison with that Canyon over there, and unfortunately they sold the Ranger that I was going to compare it to yesterday. It's funny how things work out. So, I don't really have another video idea, so I figured I was driving around the lot here and I was looking like, man, when I was first in the market for an HD truck, they didn't have nowhere near the amount of 1-ton trucks that they have today. Let's take a look. Here's an XLT F350. There's 3 right here. Let's see. This is F350, 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 F350. Do you see my point? I think I'm making my point here. Now there's another lot on the other side, and we're gonna drive over there, and we're also gonna go to the Chevy and the Ram store, I think, in this video. Ooh, look at this one. This is a King Ranch long bed F350. I've done enough videos on King Ranches, although they did have a what's the new color called again, like the light blue color. They have one King Ranch with the chrome bumpers. I want to do a video on that one, but I ran out of time and it already sold. But let's keep going. Anytime you see these higher trims, they're 9 times out of 10 going to be a 1-ton. So that is a long bed limited. There is a platinum trimmer right there. That is F350. Wow. So here we go. Hopefully you guys can see. Do you guys see right there? F350. I did a video on this truck. This King Ranch is available now, by the way. F350. F350. F350 Platinum. All these trucks are available, by the way, too, on this side. F350, F350, F250. Okay, so there's one. Okay. F350, F3. You see my point? Let's go to the Chevy lot now. I think you guys are getting the point here. Now we're at Jerry Seiner Chevrolet. Now it is a little different here. Sometimes, in a lot of cases, Chevy trucks do have a mix, but that right there is a 3500. It's a really nice truck, by the way. And let's just kind of go through the lot here. So starting off with this one, 2500, 2500, 2500. Oh wow. And 2500, 2500 again. Also 3500 on this side. Let's keep going. I think they have the trucks separated from 3/4 ton and 1 ton. So 3500 right there. Right there. Hopefully you guys can see it. It's so bright outside today. 3500 right here. And 3500. There's a 2500. Lastly, 3500. So there was a time when, as I said earlier in this video, if you were coming to a dealership, you could not find a 1-ton 7 times out of 10. I remember when I started looking at HD trucks, I was mostly looking at Ram HDs, and that might be a bad comparison too, because they always have 3/4 tons. And if you're looking for payload, that's why you would always want a 1-ton. But Ford and GM changed the game back in 2020. When I started doing my videos, Ford and Chevy 3/4 tons with a diesel always had about 1,800 to 2,000 pounds of payload. Now keep in mind, we are talking about diesel trucks right now. If you're looking at gas engine trucks back in the day, the diesel and gas trucks had a 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating. The gas trucks would typically have 2,800 pounds or a little bit less of payload compared to the diesels. Now, I pulled this red 3/4 ton Silverado over here, and I want to show you guys the numbers. If you're ever trying to figure out payload and all these things, the first thing you have to understand is the gross vehicle weight rating. The gross vehicle weight rating sets the payload of the truck. So if you raise that number, you get more payload. If you lower that number, you get less payload. So here is the GVWR on this truck. It's 11,750 pounds. Now, this is 400 pounds heavier because of this max trailering package. And you guys can see when you get that package for $9.95, it gives you a 12-inch ring gear, heavy duty shock package. So you have these additional leaves here, these 2 leaves and that bump stop get added, and a 12-inch ring gear out back. So that package gives you 400 pounds of payload, right? So if you take the curb weight, so this truck weighs 8,360 pounds. So all the options that were added. So this truck has spray and bed liner. It has 5th wheel prep package. I mean, this truck has 20-inch wheels, powdered pull-bar running boards. All these things are going to take away from your payload. All these leather seats, that center console is probably a little bit heavier than the standard bench up front. So all that extra weight came to 8,360 pounds, which gives you 3,390 pounds of payload. Now, again, if this was a 3/4 ton without that max trailering, the payload would be 2,990 pounds, because you would lose 400 pounds for that 11,750 GVWR. So now you guys will see here, when you go from a 3/4 ton 2,500 to a 1 ton 3,500, you'll see that the gross vehicle weight rating is higher. So you went from the standard 11,350 on that 3/4 ton truck, or in the case of this red one, because of the max trailing, you have 11,750 gross vehicle weight rating, all the way up to 12,100 pounds. So having that higher gross vehicle weight rating gives you more payload, so 3,695 pounds. The curb weight is slightly higher despite these trucks being almost identical, but with that being said, you still have more payload because you have more GVWR, or the GVWR is increased slightly. So yes, when it comes down to it, I understand why people back in the day were going to 1 tons, because the payload was a huge difference. Now they're not that different. And I will say, depending on how you load your car, so if you are a heavy family, y'all love to eat steak, y'all love to eat those little Twinkie things, so you're a little bit heavier, you're probably going to always want to get a 1 ton truck, because if you're 250, 300 pounds, that extra weight that you carry is going to eat up your payload. Same thing goes for your family. So if you have a heavier family, you're going to probably want a 1 ton truck. And depending on how you load the bed. So if you're someone who likes to get the generator, the big cooler, fill up with ice, all the beers, all that stuff, again, you're probably going to want to get a 1 ton. But the way that this 3/4 ton truck is spec'd, you can easily tow a 5th wheel, I would say max gross vehicle weight rating around 13,000 pounds. So we had a 5th wheel, it was a 40-foot. It was a light one. It was a Keystone Cougar 368 MBI, which is a popular floor plan. That trailer today can get pretty heavy because of the solar packages, but I'm willing to bet you if you're not a full-timer, you can easily get away with this type of truck. But if you're thinking about full-time with that max GVWR at 13,000 pounds, because you're probably going to get there and a little bit above, you're definitely going to want to go with that 1 ton truck. But make no mistake about it, if you're looking at a triple axle toy hauler or a wide body luxury 5th wheel, you're going to need a dually. There's so much to this that is almost hard to do in one video, but you have to think about the axles and then your tire capacity once you get over that 3,000 pounds of pin weight. See, a lot of people mess it up. Sometimes people think as long as their truck has 3,000 pounds of payload, then they have enough capacity for their truck. That's not how it works though. The way it works is if your truck has 3,000 pounds of payload, your trailer should have under 2,000 pounds of hitch weight. Now, I'm not talking about dry weight. I would venture to say once you get your trailer weighed, you should be around 2,000 pounds. And once you add your stuff, so when you go online, the RV manufacturers do not give you the accurate numbers. Sometimes those hitch weights online can go up by like 300 to 400 pounds without even adding anything to the trailer. So just keep those things in mind. And then sometimes floor plan will vary. So if you do a front living or a front kitchen trailer, those can add a lot more extra weight to the pin as well, especially if you have a large storage, or if you have a washer and dryer up front, generator up front, large storage. All those things can really vary, so you might have to go to a dually even on a 14,000 pound trailer. So again, just keep these things in mind. Now, I didn't talk about Ram and GMC. GMC is gonna be the same as Chevy, so let's just talk about Ram really quickly.
So you guys can see on the side here, they have 35 2500s and 30 3500s. This is a dealership I always do my videos at. Now, a local store out here, they have a lot more 2500s. They have 59, and then they have 15 3500s. This is how you normally saw the inventory back in the day. And most of the time, 3500s were either low trim levels, maybe a dually or two, or just maybe a color you didn't really want. So this is the issue with Ram is still that truck from 2015, 2016, where if you were looking for payload in a diesel for a 3/4 ton, you just weren't going to get it. You're going to have around 1,800 pounds to 2,000 pounds of payload, just depending on how you spec out your truck. If you're looking at a high trim level, you're going to have around 1,700 to 1,800 pounds of payload, especially if it was a mega cab truck. With a diesel, it was going to be really, really low payload. Now, if you were to choose a gas engine, you could probably bump that up to about 2,700 to 2,800 pounds. But Ram is still kind of stuck in the past when it comes down to their 3/4 ton trucks. So I don't really recommend their trucks to tow fifth wheels because you just don't have enough payload.
So here's the takeaway. 3/4 ton and GM and Ford trucks have a lot more payload than they did just, I would say, 5 or 6 years ago. And if you're looking even 10 years ago, I mean, they could have even a lot more than those trucks did. But if you're looking at a trailer with a gross vehicle weight rating of around 13,000 pounds, I would say maximum 14,000. A 3/4 ton truck, depending on the floor plan, should be fine. If you're a weekend warrior, not looking at toy haulers, fifth wheels, you should be 100% fine. Most travel trailers will be fine with a 3/4 ton truck. Now, if you're looking at a dry weight of a trailer that's 14,000 pounds, I think around there you need to start looking at a 1 ton single rear wheel. Once you get over 14,000 pounds, I would say right around 15,000 pounds dry weight for a trailer, when it has like a 16 or 18,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, you probably want to consider a dually at that point. But 3/4 ton trucks have a lot more payload capacity than they did. These trucks are a lot heavier too, so they tow so much better. I think as far as the ride goes, 3/4 ton and 1 ton trucks do drive very similar. But I've heard from people in the comment section, depending on what state you live in, you may be better off going with a 3/4 ton truck because they charge you for the extra 1,000 pounds that these trucks, or that the 1 ton trucks could potentially weigh, right? So that's why in the past, I think Ford still allows you to derate their 3/4 tons down to 10,000 pounds. Ram is still stuck at that 10,000 pound number, which is why they have the least amount of payload. So I hope this video was helpful. As you guys saw, there are a lot of 3/4 tons at the Chevy stores, at the Ram stores, not as much at Ford stores. Typically when you see like 3/4 tons at Ford stores, they're like work trucks. They're never really high trim packages. And in some cases, some people will get that F-250 just to get that lower gross vehicle weight rating because they don't plan on towing, or they're putting it in their business and they don't want to have to get, you know, taxed more because of it. So thank you guys for watching it. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. By the way, do you guys like this camera view? I figured I would try something out a little different here, and I thought it was kind of cool to do this instead of just doing my GoPro. And I might even do this for some of my other videos. So yeah, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure your bell notifications are on. Like the video if you thought it was helpful. See you guys soon.